Hello again. On this episode of Icebound, hypothermia, starvation, death, and cannibalism, and most horrifying of all, cubes. Lots of cubes.
For those new here, my husband and I were two artists turned game devs making a survival strategy game in our spare time, with horror, mystery, and light dieselpunk elements set in the Arctic.
In the first video, we made some mood concept art and talked a little bit about game design. In the second, we tested going from 2D to 3D. For this devlog, we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to show a very early gameplay prototype we've been working on over the last couple of months. You may remember that there's two layers to the game. The navigation layer, where you make decisions spanning months and thousands of miles, and the survival layer, where the gameplay is more moment to moment and you manage the crew up close, which is what this prototype is looking at. Quick disclaimer, this is not anything remotely close to final gameplay. It's all experimental and has a pretty good chance of being chucked out or heavily modified.
We also now have a Steam page. Wishlisting helps more than you know, so check it out if you want to support the game and follow its progress.
And here we are. You might notice that we've taken a bold new direction with the art, cubism. No, I'm joking. We stripped out everything and we're focusing purely on gameplay. Our objectives for now are pretty bare bones: gather resources, investigate a location, blow up some ice floes, and be on our merry way. Eventually we'll add mini narratives, but for now it's a simple fetch quest, and that's fine for this stage of development.
Icebound's gameplay is all about exploration, getting from one place to another and back without dying, or at least with as few deaths as possible. The world is the main enemy, but also your only friend.
First off, we'll load some of our supplies into the Dog Sled, our chunky cube companion. What's in-game isn't much to look at yet, but he carries weight so that our crew won't just keel over.
To move the sled, we need the pilot and 4 crew members to harness the dogs. We're sending the cook and the captain, our weakest characters, so they can start preparing for the rest. As we travel, terrain plays a big role in movement. Hard snow is better than soft snow. Rocky ground wrecks the sled, but is easier for crew to walk on.
Each crew member will have unique abilities. Our navigator, for instance, can travel faster on snow with skis. It looks a bit weird now. There's no animations yet, so we'll just pretend he's skiing. We can use him for scouting through the fog of war. We've hit some resource nodes. These give us essential resources like fuel and food. To blow up ice floes, we need explosives, and for that, we need iron and fuel. So we'll send a few of our crew off to mine. In order not to starve, we also need to cook and eat. Our current crafting UI is rough, but we'll make it better soon. The cook character has access to better recipes, further reducing hunger and distress.
The navigator can build a beacon. It increases crew movement speed within its line of sight, reduced by bad weather or night. Look for the buff icon by crew portraits.
We've sent off half the crew to set up camp. For camping, hard ground is better than snow, which is better than slush. Ice is the worst. We'll try to shield the tent from the wind, but without weather forecasting in yet, it's a bit of a guessing game which side of the iceberg ends up getting exposed to bad weather. Another good side effect of a fire is warmth. Our crew around the fire is a good deal warmer than our navigator. As you can see on the clock in the top right, it's very close to nighttime. Daylight hours will shift depending on the season. Right now it's late spring, so it gets dark around 6:30 and the sun rises at about 2:30.
You may have also seen the sunlight icon above the crew's heads when they were in the sunlight. This rewards the crew with some extra warmth so long as they stick to the sunlight. It's a bit like a reverse vampire game mechanic. At night, we need warmth, food, and to leave someone on watch, or risk.
A polar bear. Good thing we left someone out on watch, otherwise we might have all been eaten in our sleep. The crew can defend themselves, but surprise attacks are deadly. Eventually stealth and tracking systems will factor in.
At the heart of this game are the crew. Crew relationships and disobedience aren't in yet, but we're laying the groundwork. As characters interact, say, a zealous hunter clashing with a culturally sensitive scientist, conflicts may emerge based on beliefs, hunger, or stress. Sure, we'll have an overarching narrative, but the most important story is the one that you, the player, will tell, and we believe that the event system will drive that in a really organic way.
It is the beginning of day 2, and it's sunny again, which is quite lucky, but that won't last forever. Bad weather so far has been our main expedition killer. It maybe has a bit too much of an impact. We can see open inland water in the distance. This could mean fish and other animals. We'll be taking that. We need all the meat that we can get. We go through quite a lot of it, and we do need 100. Butchery will be an ability later, but for now it's a glorified loot button. We'll fish this area completely dry. What we don't do now, we may end up regretting later.
You'll notice we don't complete objectives until we're back at the ship. That's intentional. Resources aren't safe until stored.
We're at a bit of a crossroads here. The crew can take a path over the ridge, while I think I'll send the sled around the mountain. Different terrain makes a huge difference, and this is just the start of what we're planning to put in, with frozen inlets, open leads across ice flows, and open bodies of water to cross. That is for tomorrow though. Tonight we'll set up our essentials and rest.
We know the core loop is repetitive at the moment, tense, fire, survival, but we'll be adding more systems soon to spice things up. Traps, wounds, first aid, sickness, fog of war reveals, and much more.
The third day is upon us, and the weather is starting to change. Eventually, we'll have weather forecasting via a scientist's ability and VFX for snowdrifts, but for now we have to make do with this blue debug overlay. Stay out of the weather or risk the crew freezing. We've reached our first fuel site. We'll warm up the crew and build some oil drills. Then we'll split the crew up again and prep the camp ahead of the crew working. We can't get greedy though. Overloaded crew moves slower, and that will often mean death.
We make camp closer to the mining crew to avoid a repeat of the last playtest, where half died meters from the shelter.
That was a very close call, and very nearly the end of the expedition right there. Given their lack of abilities, a lot of the crew is expendable.
If the cook or engineer dies early, the game becomes nearly impossible. If the captain dies, well, that's you, game over.
Day 4. We're up early, but some of the crew will let sleep in. The engineer will build oil drills, and the rest of the crew can collect fuel. The sun has also returned. We'll take advantage and push towards the ship after we're done collecting fuel.
We're avoiding bad routes, traveling in sunlight and pacing ourselves.
We could stop here at our second camp, but I think we've got just enough daylight to push on to this next patch of hard ground.
We were briefly considering pushing even further, but that would be risky. Among many reasons not to be traveling at night, any crew out in the elements will get distressed with the absence of light.
Day 5, and what should be the final day. The fittest crew members can get a bit of a head start on the rest and maybe complete some of the objectives before they arrive.
We nearly made it back, except we forgot the engineer. We doubled back, wasting time, and even worse, the bad weather has returned. Final camp at the ship. One day, this will be an enterable level with its own systems. For now, it's another cube with dreams.
Our crew is getting very cold, and the engineer is too tired to finish setting explosives. There's technically nothing stopping us from sending him off to rig the explosives and going out in a blaze of glory, but not this time. We'll have to try again tomorrow. This is an unfortunately familiar sight, critical health. John the Carpenter has reached below 10% endurance and can barely move. Because of my mistakes, without risking the lives of more crew members, there is nothing more I can do to save him. For the sake of survival, I'm going to have to make a call that will have lasting consequences for this character and the crew. Cannibalism. This will skyrocket distress, and when disobedience is in, the disobedience event might be outright mutiny, not to mention many other repercussions. It's a bit uncalled for, seeing as we do have uncooked food in the sledge, and I was hoping to avoid it, but we haven't implemented eating normal food raw yet, so the cook, who will need the strength to stay out in the weather for a few more hours, will be tasked with something that may haunt him to the end of his days, and beyond if the locals are to be believed.
This isn't a morality simulator, but it is about player choice and storytelling. Your choices should feel impactful, even if they're dark.
We have a final morbid meal next to the scientist's freezing corpse and immediately turn in. The hunter is in a critical condition and morality has been completely thrown out of the window. While you can't murder your crew for food, at least not yet, you can, as a last resort, butcher the dogs. We don't want any of these options to be without consequences. In fact, a lot of these options, such as cannibalism, killing the dogs, and so on, I imagine a lot of the players will never touch, and we wouldn't want them to have to. We still want these options to be there and provide their own meaningful narrative moments. The decision not to do evil or immoral things like killing and enslaving the natives or threatening capital punishment for disobedience is only meaningful if it's a viable and tempting option in the first place. We still need 100 food to survive the return. We've taken a bit longer than I'd hoped, which will have damaged the ship while it's being crushed in the ice, and we've used more food. But there are some fishing nodes further back near open water. Right now though, the focus is just on making it to the next day.
We're working on systems like food caches, better terrain mechanics, and just general simplification that we think will make the game a lot more playable.
The red decal shows the blast radius for explosives. This damages everything, friendly, unfriendly, or neutral, including the ship, so you'd best use these with caution.
With that, the ship is now free, and all that remains is to load the supplies onto the ship and board with our survivors and the tatters of their remaining sanity.
We did it, kind of. We know it's just a bunch of cubes running around at this point, but those cubes dream of being beautiful shaders and VFX one day. If you see some potential in the game and us as game developers, please consider wishlisting. That could help those dreams come true.
The ideas are promising, but implementation is the real test, and we learned a lot already.
We are going to be relying on the gaming community.
If I eat a salad, I will die.
To voice their interest to see this project through. We don't have a spare $500,000 sitting in the bank, unfortunately, and we don't have the luxury of AAA marketing machines behind us. Not that it seems to do a lot of them much good nowadays, so we're not going to be able to do this alone.
Please, let us know your thoughts. We read every single comment, and we've gotten some really valuable suggestions and thoughts on previous videos already. At this early stage, you never know what idle thought might spark something huge.
But also, please go easy on us, and remember, this is so much more raw than highly curated vertical slices that you'll usually see from development. development. This is an exciting but uncomfortable stage for us, especially since we don't yet have an opportunity to show off our strengths, which are art and narrative. We definitely want to get this stuff out there as fast as possible because at the end of the day, we'd like to make a game that people actually want and take as much feedback as possible.
We're shifting back to narrative text because everything, the mechanics, the art, the music, needs to serve the story, but we needed this prototype to prove we could bring it to life.
So yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and we'll see you soon in the next one.